West trifft auf die aktuelle 19 der Welt. Nie stand er so gut in der Weltrangliste wie aktuell. Er spielt ein tolles Jahr 2017, hat seine ersten beiden PDC-Titel auch in diesem Jahr einfahren können. Die Rede ist vom Rockstar Joe Cullen.
Three more games for this afternoon's session for you. The European Darts Trophy here in Göttingen, and it's Joe Cullen, the rock star. A man who is seeded 9th for this weekend against simply the West, Steve West, who ended Chris Quantock's hopes of being in the European Championship and indeed the World Championship at Alexandra Palace in the very first round. Quantock just felt there was a lot of pressure on the young man, and he wasn't able to withstand it in his opening round. He did not perform to his capabilities. West winning that 6-1. You would think he's going to come in for a sterner examination against Joe Cullen, who has been knocking on the door of Euro Tour glory for some time now. He's not made a final of one of these events, but he's repeatedly made the semis. Can he go on and fulfill his potential? He is a floor title winner this year, claiming his first senior title and following up with another one as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, first leg is shoulder throw first. Game on.
And Cullen does have the throw in the opening leg. Paul Nicholson joins me, Dan Dawson, in the commentary box for Joe Cullen versus Steve West.
I see a bit more ink work on Joe Cullen this week. Does like a tattoo, does Joe?
Has he got new ones, has he?
Yeah, he's opening the shirt a little bit more a la Steve Beaton or Ted Hankey.
Oof, wow.
60.
Well, not Ted Hankey, it's only halfway down.
Yes. Hankey's shirt tends to open all the way down to the knees as Joe Cullen fires in the first 180 of this one.
If we look at form over the course of this season,
81.
performances on a Saturday for Joe Cullen, they've been quite good, haven't they?
Magnificent on occasion. And it looks like we might get something similar, because that's back-to-back 180s, leaves 41.
60, Joe Uruguay 41.
Well, the last time he played on a Saturday in the European Tour, he averaged north of 110. 12-dart start will
25.
not occur on this occasion, but he will be back. Steve West, I'm sure, as a student of the game, will know what he's in for today. Joe Cullen's very, very happy on Saturdays.
Game shot of the first leg.
14-dart start. Not bad at all.
Game on.
And we saw Joe just before he went on stage, and you can read someone's mentality before they go on stage, what kind of mood they're in.
78.
Joe's been a seed now for quite some time, and he's at ease with all of this now. This is the norm.
140.
Yeah, Joe, he's not got a chip on his shoulder, but he doesn't think he's got the recognition that he deserves.
100.
Because he has won 2 titles this year, and he has been playing good darts for 2 years or so now, 18 months, 2 years.
100.
He really has stepped it up. And he's backed that up with a couple of titles this year, but he's not been one of the guys who's been picked on the World Series as Steve West fires in his first maximum. He is a peripheral figure when it comes to things like
91.
Premier League discussions, and that's because
143.
he's not had a big run on telly. But week in, week out on the Pro Tour, he has been one of the most consistent performers.
93. Joe Uruguay 170.
This would have been very, very handy. Double 18 will be left
130
right there.
for Steve Uruguay 50.
50. 10 for tops for Westy. Loves tops.
10 score.
Not right now.
Joe Uruguay 36.
He's probably feeling that that leg is gone because Cullen loves double 18.
He does. Getting closer.
18.
Well, a
Steve
surprise that he
Uruguay
doesn't
40.
pin it there, because it seemed inevitable after that second dart.
Game
Steve
shot
West
on the
does
second
pin
leg.
tops. It's one
Steve
apiece.
West, third leg is shoulder throw first. Game on.
Do you think, Dan, that maybe because of what other people have done this year,
93.
Joe maybe feels that he's been slightly overshadowed by other people's stories, like obviously Gurney getting a major win, and I think Riley getting his first major, and
Gerwyn
Rob
Price
Cross
is another one as well. I mean, you look at Joe Cullen. I mean, he's not that
60.
far behind Gerwyn Price in the rankings. He's won the same number of titles as Gerwyn Price, but Gerwyn Price does have that UK Open final run. And that has been the
93.
difference, because Joe Cullen, he has produced some fantastic stuff, and the problem is with Joe, when it's come to the big TV stages, it's been one good game and he's not backed it up by going and
45.
winning his next one. The only time we've seen him have a run is at the UK Open, where he is a quarter-finalist there.
135.
Unfortunately for Joe, as great as you can be in floor tournaments, and indeed on these European Tour ones, I mean, he's made semi-finals a number of times. He's been very consistent
100.
performer. And he has answered some of the critics in putting good performances back to back to back, because you can't win titles unless you do
100.
that. But he's not doing it on the most high-profile stages, and that is ultimately what gets you into things like World Series events
100. Joe, you require 80.
and Premier League discussions. Oh, okay.
Game shot on the third leg.
Go the Merv
Joe
route. Why not?
Cullen.
Steve West not on a finish.
Game on.
Well, Merv's not on till second last tonight. He's probably been here for about 2 hours already.
Yeah.
So maybe he has been practicing with Merv.
45.
And that was a very Merv-type shot.
It was a very Merv-type shot. That's the thing. I mean, you can go whatever route you want if your opponent's not on a
100.
finish.
Well,
Merv will do that when somebody's on tops against him.
we've seen some tricky finishing this week from Keegan Brown already.
Yes. Yes, we have.
Never seen a 1-2-4 not going for the 21st, but he hit it
60.
very effectively. But with Joe, I think he has maybe something in his locker right now that Gezi does not, which is that 110-plus game.
Well, that's an interesting point. I think that's... We've seen Joe produce stuff where you think this, if he can keep doing this, he's right up there. But it's the consistency he's got to add, isn't it?
Who's to say that both of those guys, Gezi and Joe, won't have dynamic finishes to the air? And we know what Joe's like when he's backed into a corner on a big stage. And we know what Gezi's like. Maybe those two guys are destined to have some sort of rivalry over the next 5 or 6 years.
Look, I love watching the pair of them, and I would quite happily watch Thursday night next year at the start of the Premier League. And I think they are genuinely contenders for Premier League spot. I think at the minute, if you picked it tomorrow, I think Gerwyn Price is going to be in.
Joe, you require 72.
But with so many big tournaments at the back end of this year, as he looks at double 16,
40.
but he's going to get more darts at it. I think if you picked it tomorrow, then Gerwyn Price would be in. Joe Cullen wouldn't be. But there are plenty of opportunities for both of them
90.
to either cement
Joe, you
their
require
spots or put
32.
themselves in a very, very strong position to do so. And I think winning this here this weekend
Shot on the fourth
would go a
leg.
long way
Joe Cullen.
for Joe Cullen
Through first. Game on.
to continue to make his case, because he's got a breaker throw there, 3-1 up against Steve West. The winner of this one goes through to the final day of action and will face Alan Norris, who got the job done today. Alan Norris, he averaged 97, but we know that Norris is struggling with his hands. He's got this carpal tunnel syndrome, and I don't know enough about it. I don't know if that means that he could wake up tomorrow and he's unable to throw as well as he did today. But we'll see. But whoever comes through this game, they might not be facing a fully firing Alan Norris, and it would be a chance to make the final session of a European Tour for Joe Cullen once again this year. I mean, you look at the European
42.
Tour order of merit. I mean, he's number 6. You don't do that over the course of a season without throwing some seriously good darts.
Correct.
Higher than Rob Cross.
100.
I think Steve is a little frustrated with his performance so far. He's had a lot of wires in this
59.
match. Well thrown darts, just falling the wrong side of the wire. Just needs to keep his composure a little bit. And going back to what you were saying
45.
about European tours gauging for other spots in other tournaments. 2 years ago, Kim Huybrechts got on everybody's by winning the last one of the year. And we've talked about Alan Norris defending 25,000 points on his one-year Order of Merit. Well, Kim Huybrechts, who is in the top 16 right now, is defending 25,000 world ranking points. So
2 score.
repercussions everywhere, including some very bad fortune on the dartboard for Steve West.
Yeah, that's probably the most disappointing visit we'll see
100.
this weekend from anybody at the Happy Bet European Darts Trophy. 2 scored in a scoring visit.
60. Joe, you require 100.
Has Joe Cullen just hit Steve West a little too hard in the early parts of this match?
84.
Steve's just got to dig deep, keep trying to find
46.
those big segments,
Joe,
but
you require
it's not there in
16.
this leg. He's maybe thinking, get this leg over with, because it could be over right now. It is.
Shot on the 5th
And
leg.
now he's got a mountain
Joe
of salt.
Cullen, 6 like his Steve.
Try and get
there.
closer to Joe Cullen.
Come on.
First things first, big deep breath and hold your throw here. You'll only be 2 legs away from him.
And Steve is full Joe Cullen pose. There we go. Steve is a guy who over the last probably 18
60.
months has just seemed to find another gear and become a very, very
48.
threatening player, particularly in floor events. But I mean, he's the last man to beat Phil Taylor at the World Grand Prix. He took James Wade out at the World Grand Prix. He's in a similar
60.
position to Joe. He's not won PDC titles, and I don't think the best one in the world. I'm not sure anybody's putting Steve West in discussion for a Premier League spot at the minute.
96.
But we know he's capable of going on and winning something because he's got very close. But it's the consistency for Steve West, and he'll talk all year. He said, I've been playing well, I've just been
24.
wiring things, wiring it. I just haven't had a bit of luck. And at the match play, he was averaging 110 nearly against Michael Smith in his first round game for the vast majority of it. It was a
97.
fantastic display. He was very good against James Wade at the World Grand Prix. He's got it in his locker. It's just doing it game after game after game.
100.
That's what's taken Joe Cullen years to learn how to do.
Well, Steve West in this match, he's constantly just trying to find that first dart and build on it. He found the first dart in the last
55.
visit. But when you're searching for something and it's not instinctual or instinctive even, it just makes the performing
62.
harder. And one thing that Joe Cullen has done very well, especially this year, is just plod along with incredible rhythm.
Yeah, the
97.
rhythm is the key thing with Joe. I know that Rod Harrington had a word with him probably going back 2 or 3 years when Rod was commentating on the
25.
European
Joe, you
Tour.
require 108.
And he was on about just making sure that he didn't throw his last dart away, that he just treated every throw exactly the same.
48.
It's not worked
Steve
there
require
for him,
170.
but the chances are he's going to go 5-1 up here. 170 won't go for Steve West. You can see
37.
there's no rhythm there
Joe, you
for Steve
require
West. He's
60.
throwing those darts away. He's frustrated. He's absolutely fuming at the minute, Steve West.
Joe Cullen will be very happy if he hits tops here.
40.
133. There's only one way to go for this, surely.
133.
Treble 19, double. Or treble 11. He could have gone bull after that.
93. Joe,
That's a
you
great
require
leave.
20.
Yeah.
And if you don't think dart players are good mathematicians, just look how quickly he hit that shot. And now he's going to get a shot at the double.
No score. Steve require 40.
Well, potentially a way back into this match for Steve West because nothing has gone right for him so far.
Ian shot on the 6th
But
leg.
he has
Steve West,
managed
set like
to
his shoulder
hold his throw
first.
there and cut
Come
the
on.
gap to 2 legs.
26 darts for that leg, Dan. That's usually 2 legs for Joe Cullen or Steve West. But maybe they've just had their weirdest leg of the season because it's followed by 2 180s.
Where has this come from? From the ridiculous
60.
to the sublime.
The sediculous or the riblime.
100.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is why Joe Cullen's played so well this year. He focuses, well, 100% of his practice on scoring. Doesn't like the mental scar tissue of missing doubles in the practice room. Just gets on with hitting things up there. Lets his arm do the talking. Bullseye.
96.
Had to go for that as well. Westy on 140.
Well, for a 13 darter, half as many darts as it took to win the last leg. Well, it'll be a 14 darter, won't it?
Game shot on the 7th leg.
5-2, and Cullen 1 leg away from the final day of action here at the Happy Bet European Darts Trophy, and a shootout for the quarterfinals with Alan Norris. Only once has Steve West actually beaten Joe Cullen. It was this year, though. Last time they played. He's going to have to win 4 legs on the spin to repeat that. The last couple of legs, Steve West has started the leg brilliantly. Both times with the 180. And that... Hang on. Oh. Unfortunate. But his first start has been much better in the last couple of legs, and that's what's been missing at the start. Oh, too good.
80.
My word.
That was a Robert Owen dart, that one.
I'm not even sure. Well, I just don't know how that happened.
100.
We've had a couple of really scary deflections today. In the last match with James Wilson, he managed to hit the wire, then it stuck to his second dart on the way back, and it was hovering in the air. It was almost like a, as you would call, a ridiculous dart.
Well,
96.
He's prone to a few of those. Is the Jammy Dodger. Oh, hang on. Hang on. What a way to win it, Joe Cullen. 160 checkout, a 12 darter. And Cullen's through to the final day of action. It was not the best from West, but Cullen, a magnificent 160 checkout, and he's given himself yet another opportunity of European Tour glory. We'll see him take on a former Euro Tour winner, Alan Norris, tomorrow for a spot in the quarterfinals. Joe Cullen just doing what Joe Cullen has been doing all year. It might not have been his best. It was probably nowhere near his best, but tell you what a way to seal the deal with the 160. 6-2 Cullen. Couple more matches up for you. Vincent van der Voort against Ian White in a moment, then Stephen Bunting against Rene Idem.
It was not very spectacular, but then this last checkout was cool.
No, I thought up to 4-1, I thought the match was pretty spectacular, to be honest. I felt like I was playing really well, but I was just sort of struggling with just like the odd checkouts at the end, and Steve just hung in there. And it's like I say, I like Steve. He's a good lad. It's good to get on with. He just felt like he gave up, but then I sort of lost a bit of concentration, and so all it was a matter of focus in the end, and got over the line.
You are number 19 right now in the world ranking, your highest ranking, I think, ever. Good feeling?
No, it's not enough. It's not enough. Like I say, I'm hoping to be in the top 16 by the time the Worlds comes around. I'm pushing for the Premier League, so like I say, that's the aim for every darts player, not just me. So 19, 119, it doesn't matter. The aim is the Premier League.
Okay. Alan Norris is waiting. Next one.
Yeah, Alan's a great guy. He's obviously I beat him in the last one, so he'll want to sort of resurrect that and get his own back. But if I play my game, I'm really confident that I'll win.
See you tomorrow. Thank you very much. Joe Cullen, der Rockstar, der selbst sagt,